Facebook Live with PlunketLine. So today we are going to be discussing the ever important water safety, which is timed nicely for the upcoming summer. So my name is Gina and I'm one of the registered nurses here at PlunketLine. Nice to be with you all today. And today I have with me my colleague Stephanie. Hand it over to you.
Kia ora, everyone. Yes, I'm also a registered nurse here at PlunketLine, and very excited to be talking about this important topic of water safety with all of you today. We have a special prize pack to be giving away. There's actually two prize packs of little swimmers swim nappies and wipes, thanks to our partners at Huggies. So anyone who comments or messages us with questions goes into a draw to win. So please ask us your questions and we'll try to get through all of them by the end of the chat. All right.
Awesome. So today we're going to discuss how to keep your tamariki safe in, on or around the water. Unfortunately, drowning is one of the leading causes of deaths in New Zealand. So the aim of this is to share tips on how to make sure you're aware of the dangers and how to have fun safely with water and your whānau. So one of the things we'll start with is what's the best way to keep tamariki safe around the water? The answer to that is simply to supervise them. So what exactly does that look like, Stephanie?
That's a great question, Gina. I think first and foremost, we never want to leave our Pepe and our young tamariki alone in or even near the water, not even for a second. The water only has to be about the depth of your little finger for a little one to drown.
Wow.
That's not much water at all. And another important aspect just to remember is that drowning is fast and it's silent, so don't expect splashing, don't expect yelling. Um, you know, it, if it's quiet, that would be looking for trouble.
That's a
Okay.
concern. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And constant and active supervision by an adult, and I'll get into what active supervision means here in a moment. But when you're either in, on, or even just around any water, that means constant visual contact, not just glancing at them every now and then, getting back on your device or talking. But this includes supervising tamariki, even if they can swim. Sometimes. We think if they've had swim lessons or they feel comfortable around the water, that kind of gives us a false sense of security, but they still need to be supervised. It's really important, and that includes any water. So whether it's in the bathtub, if you're out at the river, creeks, paddling pools, swimming pools, spas and hot pools, even buckets of water and vessels of water you have around the house, pet bowls. There's so many dangers out there. So we'll just touch on those here in a minute. But back to that active supervision, being able to see and hear your tamariki, and being able to help them quickly if you need to, that's key. If you're not able to see them or hear them, you're too far away.
Yep.
And limiting those distractions. So putting your phone away, don't leave them in a room, even if it's just to go grab something, quickly from another room. Again,
Yep.
drowning happens very quickly, right, Gina? Um,
Seconds. Literally
yeah,
seconds.
yeah. And then if it's young Pepe, we want to be able to keep our hand on them. And then with older tamariki, staying within an arm's reach of them, when they're in the water or at the water's edge. Um, and then you always want to have an adult in charge that's specifically allocated to be watching the children. It's not acceptable just to be in a group and think, oh, there's a lot of adults here, someone will know, if something happens, because that's when accidents do happen, unfortunately. Someone needs
Yep.
to actually be told that they're in charge, and it needs to be for small periods of time, okay, because it's easy for adults to get distracted as well.
For
It
sure.
can be a good idea to have a special like a hat or maybe a high vis vest that the adult can wear, so everyone knows who is in charge on water safety duty, and that they're not to be disturbed during that time, making sure that they don't have their phone out, that they're not just
Yep.
talking to others. They need to be eyes on the water, around the
Watching.
water. Yeah.
Great. Great point, Stephanie. Absolutely. I love the other day, I know you and I were chatting, and you mentioned even something simple like a little armband. Get creative
Hmm.
with it, but make sure everybody's aware so that you have that on duty person, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So, what about flotation devices? This is something that I know lots of family. Again, that's a false sense of security. We pop some of the rubber wings on the arms, or
Yeah.
send them out with a pull ring. Um, let's talk a little bit about that. Why is it not really safe to rely on floaties when our young ones are in the water?
Yeah, that's a great point, Gina. Yeah, we can't rely on those. I mean, even on the packaging, it says they are not a flotation device. They're more used for fun. And children need to be supervised, even with those things in place. Um, you know, um, if you're if you're going boating, wearing a life vest for everyone on the boat, it
Yep,
would be compulsory. And young tamariki may ideally need a life vest that has a crotch strap on it, just because they may not fit them properly depending on their age. But yeah, just going back to those floaties, the swimmer float things that go around, the waist, they can help to keep a child up in the water. But what can happen is
tip.
they can tip over, yeah, and then
Yeah,
go headfirst into the water. So if they're
yep.
not being supervised, you could see how that could
It's so
go bad
quickly
very
too.
quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so quickly. Um, and I think another good thing is about who's in charge. So we recommend, don't we, that nobody under the age of 16 should be left in charge. It's not appropriate for a teenager or a young child to have to look after even younger children. They're just so easily distracted, and all these points you've made about being within arm's reach and have eyes on them would just be
Hmm.
too much responsibility for an older child, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, keeping that in mind, there's a lot of adults that don't feel comfortable, in the water or with swimming. So before
Mm,
you allocate someone, to be that supervising adult,
mm.
make sure that they're comfortable if they needed to get into the pool or go swim after them, in the ocean or wherever it may be.
Absolutely.
But yeah, because if they're not comfortable, then that doesn't make for a very nice
No,
scenario either, right?
defies the purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, what are the key things we should think about when we're heading into the pool?
All right. There's a lot of things. Does everyone have their,
Yeah.
pen and paper out? I
Start
hope you're
making
taking
notes.
notes.
Maybe we
Um,
could jot some of these down in the chat so people can refer back to them.
oh yeah, that would be a great idea. Yeah. Yeah, I think, just having conversations and talking, with your tamariki about water safety rules. We have rules, for lots of things. Children, need rules and boundaries. And, that's what helps them to thrive and learn. So teaching them to walk when they're near water, okay, not running. When they're wanting to get into the water, they need to wait for an adult to get in first. First of all, just to make sure that it's safe, that the water temperature, whether it be, like a spa pool or a thermal pool, that they're not too hot.
Yep.
And to check the depth of it. Yeah, there's a lot of considerations there. And that same active supervision advice applies here as well. So, again, whether it's any area of water, it needs to be eyes on the child, or, children, and, not having other things going on in the background for that person. So no, they shouldn't have their phone out. They shouldn't be having a conversation with another, adult, or child, while they're supervising, because their focus is on those tamariki in the water. Um,
It, it's
yep.
so easy to get distracted, isn't it? I
Oh
think
yeah.
also young children should wear either like those little swimmers which we're giving away, or togs.
Mhm.
Even the
Yep.
practice that when we go swimming, we get changed into swimming clothes. I know it's cute and it's so easy just to let them go naked and have fun, but actually the whole process of having special swimwear can help them make the connection that we don't just jump into water anytime we like, that it's a privilege and it's something that we do with adults only. So get your kids used to swimwear. It's just another barrier so they know that that's what we're about to do. We're going to have fun in the water. Would you
Yeah,
agree
that's a
with
great
that?
yeah, it's a great point, Gina. It's really great. And don't forget sun safety as well. If you're out for a day at the beach or the lake or river, um, make sure you're taking cover ups. Using sunscreen, reapplying it frequently. Making sure you have enough water with you for the day, as you can get dehydrated out in the sun. Just be
Yep.
mindful of those sorts of things as well. And
Slip,
then
slop, slap, and wrap. That's what we
what is
covered.
it?
That's what we covered last week. Slip, slop, slap, and wrap. That's the slogan for summer.
That's good. Uh, Another thing would be, hot pools. There's a lot of amazing, natural, hot pools in
Yep.
Aotearoa and, commercial ones as well. So there's some special considerations to take into account, with those and with our pepe and tamariki. Um, you know, um, a lot of people might not know, but hot pools are not suitable for pepe under 6 months of age due to risk of infection and just the heat because pepe and tamariki don't regulate their body temperatures, as well as adults do. So they can overheat much more quickly and get
That's right.
dehydrated. Okay. Yeah. And then for tamariki over 3 years of age, if that pool water, the pool temperature or a thermal pool is higher than 37.8 degrees, they're not able to regulate their body temperatures either.
Okay.
And yeah, and you really don't want them staying in for more than 15 minutes at a time, just due to that risk of overheating as well. Um, and then, so that goes, with what we were saying earlier, always have the adult step into the water first. You're checking the depth, you're checking the temperature, and that'll kind of help, gauge that as well. And then sometimes when you go to those, commercial thermal pools or the ones that you kind of find out randomly, you want to make sure that you're not putting your head under the water.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just the minerals and things. If you are at a commercial, hot pool, you could ask the staff before you get in to see if it's okay. But it's usually recommended, not to put your head
Not
under.
to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And then, if you do have a home swimming pool or spa, making sure that they're fully fenced and council compliant. Never leave the gates open, and remember that spas need to have a lockable cover because it can be
Looks like
easy.
we had a little bit of a lag there.
Oh, really?
We just had a wee lag, Stephanie, but that's all right. Carry on.
Okay. Where did you hear me leave off at?
You start talking about if you do have a pool at home, I think.
Oh, okay. Yep. We just want to make sure that they're fully fenced and council compliant, that we never leave the gates open. And if you have a spa pool, they need to have a lockable cover
Yep,
because our little tamariki they're pretty crafty unlocking things. So, yeah, it needs to make sure
absolutely.
it's safe. Hmm.
Mm. Good points. Good points. All right. So I guess we'll go to if we're heading outdoors, like to the beach, lakes, or rivers, which we're so lucky to have here in New Zealand, some beautiful beaches. Um, what are the main points? So how can we stay safe there? I would probably think a lot of the things Stephanie's already covered, staying near the children, particularly at water's edge. So,
Hmm.
you go to a rough beach and it's really, really easy for that wave to come and knock the child down and drag them out, and it happens so quickly. Always making sure that you swim between the flags if you're going to a beach. Stay away from strong currents and rips. Um, Ask locals if they know where the currents and rips are, because those are the people that will know what the beach is like. Um, when it comes to lakes and rivers, you really need to be careful of hidden hazards. So often there's branches, sharp rocks, very uneven surfaces. Um, and, even in areas where you see little, maybe some of the older kids jumping off things into it, which is lots of fun,
Mhm.
but you really need to go in and investigate what's under that water before you do anything like that. Um, I think something that we don't necessarily think of is even other hazards like fish ponds, or if you're in the country, your troughs, or those bathtubs that feed the animals. Um, and even, I know, Stephanie, you did say this earlier, but one of the things I'll never forget when my children were young is the animal bowls. So,
Yeah.
it only takes a second for a child to go and put their head face down in an animal bowl, and they may not have that capability to just literally turn their head to the side. So,
Yeah.
um, animal bowls, nappy buckets, things like that, all need to be out of reach of children. Um, what about when we're in the safety of our own home? Obviously, most of us will bath our children regularly. So, what do we need to look out? Yeah, most of us. What do we need to look
Yeah.
out for at home in the bath?
Yeah. It's another good one, Gina. I think we need to take extra special care at home. Sometimes we feel like we're in a safe space, because it's our home and we know, everything that's around. But there can definitely be hidden dangers. With paddling pools, again, you want to always actively supervise, when a tamariki are in those paddling pools, but emptying them when you're done with the use for the day, and then turning them over so that rainwater can't collect in them, that it's not, that, the tamariki were out there having fun, during the day in the pool. So, if they were to get back out there and want to have more fun, then it's,
That's right.
definitely a danger. Yeah. Yeah, so making sure you've, flip those over. And in the bath, again, never leaving Pepe alone. If you must grab something from another room, then you need to
And
physically
take
take
the
them
baby
out of
with
the
you.
water and take them with you.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be a pain, but again, I mean, we can't emphasize how quickly drowning can happen, and
Yep.
in a very small amount of water. So, um, yeah, just, key point there. Um, and also when, if you're on holiday, with, at
Mm,
a friend's home, or someone else's home, you always need to go around and check for water hazards, because you're not familiar with that property, or, where you're at. If there's a pool, make sure that's safely fenced and the gates are secure,
mm.
if it's somewhere that you're staying on holiday or something like that. And then, again, just, some of these things, we've already said, but, just reiterating, keeping a hand
Yep.
on young Pepe and always supervising young Tamariki in the bath. And then again, just making sure you have everything that you need, for bath time, before you actually put the child in the bath, and making sure that
Absolutely.
you're there when the water's filling up, not leaving, the children
Mm.
in the bathroom alone, unsupervised with it. And again, that can be for, the water temperature, just if they fall in head first and can't get out, there's different risks there. And then, can you tell us a little bit about, bath seats and bath aids, Gina? Do you know,
Yeah.
if those are okay to use?
Yeah, I mean, so they've become a little bit of a craze, haven't they? You can get some really
Mhm.
cute looking ones. And I guess the general advice is you can use them, but they don't replace human supervision. They,
Yeah.
again, it can provide that false sense of security where you're like, oh, my baby's in a seat. Oops, I forgot the towel. I'll just rush out and grab it. No, because they very easy, just like that floaty, even the harness floaties, they're easily tipped over. Um,
Yeah.
and they can be really slippery too. So yeah, in general, I don't think you need them because you're going to be with your baby
Mhm.
and be touching your baby at all times in the bath. Um, I think it's also really important to empty the bath straight away. Quite often we're trying to get our newborn or our baby out of the bath, keep them warm. You know, as mums, we juggle 100 different tasks at once, but remember to empty that bath before you walk out of the room, because the last thing you need is, you know, your toddler walking in behind you while you're in the lounge giving the baby a massage, and finding that bathtub full of water, because it's so enticing and it's so fun, and they'll just go for it very quickly.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point, Gina. Yeah, and then also, yeah, just with bath time, not even just the bath water, but emptying out any toys or small buckets and things.
Yeah.
After you finish using them, because again, just a small amount of water can have big consequences. And then, thinking about just other areas, in the house that might be have dangers. The laundry room, if you have any, mop buckets, sometimes
Mm,
you start doing one thing, you might be mopping, and then you've moved on to something else, and that bucket of water, is sitting there.
yep.
The toilets, tamariki are a bit, top heavy. While they're toddlers, and younger Pepe. So, if they're leaning into the toilet, they may not have, the strength and, capacity to be able to lift themselves, back out. So, keeping the toilet lids closed, bathroom doors shut, if you're not in there, just kind of provides another, layer of,
Layer, that
yeah,
barrier, right?
yeah, another
Yeah.
barrier. Yeah.
You might need to remind the guys a few times about that one, you know, put the
Right.
toilet seat down,
Yeah.
yeah, but definitely a good lesson. So, how can we teach our children how to be safe around water? Like, I think, you know, I always say to parents when they call it PlunketLine, one of the hardest parts about being a parent that nobody really talks about is when you actually have to set rules and boundaries and do things that sometimes your children don't like. But we do it because we know what's best for them, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I think, you know, just having a chat around how can I teach my children to be safe around water? What have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and learning how to have a respect for the water as well. So starting very young. There are, water confidence classes that start from about 6 months of age. That you can find in your community.
Mm,
But just start talking at a very young age and helping them understand that water's fun, but it can be dangerous.
yeah,
And then getting them used to being in the water. So summertime's coming up, whether it's you have like an outside sprinkler or a hose, practice getting water over their head and on their face so that they're get more comfortable with that,
yeah.
so that if they are in a pool and they get splashed with water, it's not as
It's not
scary
scary.
for
Yeah,
them. Yeah, because it can be scary. And then, as you were saying earlier, another important point, just making sure they're in actual togs or swimwear when they're having water play, when they're doing these outdoor activities in water. It helps to put together. Oh, I have special clothes on to do a special activity.
yeah,
A fun activity. So.
yeah. It's that those cues, those brain associations that we so often
Hmm.
talk about with sleep, right? So same thing
Yeah.
with water safety. Oh, we're getting in our togs. That's fun. That means we're going swimming.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so I think that's actually a really a key fact. That, and don't forget the sun safety. Like you can
Yeah.
burn within 10 minutes in the New Zealand
Oh, yeah.
sun, and even staying out of the sun between those really hot hours. I think it's 10 till 2 is the hottest. And if you
Mm-hmm.
are making sure you're reapplying that sunscreen every 2 hours.
Yeah. Sun
Yeah,
hats and things like that, and make sure a lot of pepe and tamariki go around with no shoes on, but you always need to that ground can get very hot, especially the asphalt, the black top in the summertime can burn. So yeah, just be careful when the weather's hot.
so I think that's probably the most of what we wanted to cover today, but I know that there's been a few questions from the audience, which is great because that means you're in the line to win these, in the draw to win the Huggies giveaway. So I know Bethany has asked, is there any way to practice CPR at home with friends and family? That's a fantastic question. Yeah. What do you think, Stephanie? I know that you can do
Hmm.
courses, online CPR courses, and in fact, Plunket have an online course on our website. I think
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
it would be a little hard to actually practice the compressions, but you could definitely demonstrate on a toy or a teddy, even a pillow.
Yeah. So if yeah, you can go to plunket.org.nz, and if you type into the search bar CPR, it'll come up with a place to click where you can actually do that online, CPR training. And there's some videos on there, great, pictures and little quizzes, that you can kind of take just to kind of familiarize if you were in a situation and you needed, to do it. So yeah, I mean, you can never be prepared enough, for those types of
Absolutely.
things, both with
And I
tamariki and adults. So, mhm.
And I think even if you've done CPR in the past, you can never relearn it. I mean, even registered nurses need to do it every 2 years, and there's a
Yeah.
reason for that. We want it to
Hmm.
be muscle memory so that when we're in a high panic situation, we
Hmm.
instinctively know what we're doing. All right, so
Yep.
also we've got a question from Sonali asking, can 2-year-olds wear swim nappies? Over to you, Stephanie.
Yes, there are different sizes of the swim nappies, but there definitely are toddler size ones. So you just need to know the weight of your child and kind of match that up just like you do on the when you're if you're choosing a disposable nappy, and they'd be based on their weight.
Good idea. All right,
Yeah.
so got some other questions. Can you see them there, Stephanie?
Yeah. So we have Barbara asking, what are the safe colors for swim clothes? That's a great question. Some
It
ideas on
is.
that, Gina? Hmm.
I know from our discussion last week that anything dark is going to be safer than light colours. So tightly knitted or tightly woven fabric. So any of those rash type singlets or long sleeve tops you can get. And actually that's the point. The long sleeve ones are going to be better than short sleeve. So you might think, oh, it's far too hot for that, Gina, but in fact when you're in the water, it's going to help keep their temperature regulated, because remember, young children have difficulty regulating their body temp. So I would go for quite bright or darker coloured ones. The UV rays are less likely to get through. Um, and swim vests. So we have a question there from Sarah Lee. What about swim vests? Are they recommended? I
Hmm.
think in general, they can keep kids afloat, just like any other flotation device, but it doesn't replace that supervision. Um, in a swim vest, again, they can tip onto their face. And children in a panic situation, they may not have the ability or capacity mentally, emotionally to even just turn their head to the side. So those can be fun tools to use for the summer, but not a replacement for adult supervision. Um, I know Claire has asked about UV swimwear. Is it worthwhile?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it's similar to the answers that you've been giving. For that sun protection, that tightly woven and darker colors. Um, but also remembering that the best swimwear is going to be bright colored, so that if a child was underwater, that you could see them more easily.
Yeah.
Okay, um, lighter colors and um, blues and things like that. Things that are the color of the water, or things in the water, are going to disappear under the water. It's going to be harder to see. So you might think, brighter might be better in that instance.
Yep, I agree.
And
Um,
then
Sarah Lee is asking, what age do we recommend for swim lessons? I thought that the recommendation was generally from 6 months onwards. Do you know if that's correct, Stephanie?
So, yeah, I mean, there are some classes, out in our communities that you can start younger than that, but I wouldn't say they were teaching children how to swim. It's more about getting them comfortable in the water,
Yeah,
and it's fun. That you're not
yeah,
teaching a child at that age. It's more for fun and just getting them having a fun, relaxed, time, with the caregiver. But yeah, you can start at 6 months, but really from about 3 years of age is when you would be starting swim lessons and expecting children to really be learning and
skills.
advancing their skills. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think that 6 month age group was around because children under 6 months old, it goes back to that regulating the body temp. So if they're in
yeah.
a really cold pool, it might be
Hmm.
too early because just the fact that they can get cold so quickly. If
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
if you're in more of a heated pool, then I guess that's a different story. So that's a little bit of a case by case situation.
Hmm.
Yeah. Any other questions there, Stephanie?
Looks like we have a question from Stephanie Dauber. My baby is 2 months old. I plan on introducing her to water this summer. What basic infant water safety skills can I teach her besides how to float on her back?
Yeah, I think, like Stephanie said, until they're three, they're not going to learn how to fully swim the skills, but you definitely get them confident and comfortable in the water. So, starting with the floating on the back and how to just hold our breath when we go underwater. But I think, to be honest, I would direct you to is it water safety .nz. I'll get our lovely producer to pop it in the chat. But I was looking
Yeah.
through this website yesterday, and it's got all of the recommendations at the different ages and kind of what we recommend or what the best practice guidelines are around infant and children in the water. So I'd have a really good look through that website.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully that's helpful, Stephanie Dorber.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a great website that's called under5.org.nz,
Yes.
that's got a lot of great water safety information for Pepe and Tamariki. So probably find some good info on there as well. Any more questions? And here I see we're running over our time.
We will wrap it up shortly. Somebody's asked, is it safe for my 3-year-old son to swim in a public pool or beach? Look, I think all public pools in New Zealand have to be pretty well regulated. Definitely by 3 years old, they're going to have high levels of chlorine and generally kill any bugs that might be floating. So I would
Mhm.
say yes, as long as they're with an adult and being carefully supervised. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also just watching how long they're in the water for, because again that temperature regulation, the ocean is going to be a lot cooler, than a heated, possibly public pool. So if they're shivering or you probably only want them in for about 15 minutes at a time, and then
Yep.
bringing them out to warm them up. um, yeah.
Yep.
And let's see, we have some more questions from Sarah Lee. How would you go swimming at a beach with a little one that can't walk yet?
You just pick them up and take them in and have a little splash in the water, kind of hold them up and bounce them in the waves, but only what they're comfortable with, because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, if they start to cry or they're scared, we don't want to do that. So
Hmm.
you can take them in as long as it's a safe beach, you're between the flags. So if anything went wrong, you've got support there. But yeah, you can take them into the water. It's again
Yeah.
around that temperature regulation. So if they're really little, just not keeping them out in the cold for too long. So it depends on
Yeah.
the day, depends on the beach, I think.
Yeah. And then also just watching if it's a hot day out, just watching the temperature of that sand, it can get quite hot. So if they're crawling, and not walking, just it
Yeah,
might be a risk for getting burns. So
good.
yeah,
Definitely. All right. It looks like our producer has picked a winner. Stephanie, do you
we
want
have
to
it.
do you
Oh,
want to
just
announce the
looking for
winner?
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
in our
all
chat. Do
right.
you see it?
Oh, yep. Okay, I've got it here. Our winners of the Huggies prize packs are Stephanie Dauber and Barbara. Please feel free
Awesome.
to
We'll be
actually,
in
how do they
touch.
send their details through? Yeah, we'll contact
Yep.
you, and
So,
we'll just need to know what size the swim nappies that you guys need. And congratulations.
yeah, guys, and we just ask that you pop a message into the chat with your name and your phone number, maybe, and we can contact you to arrange that prize. Cool. It's been
Great.
awesome to be here with you today, Stephanie. And I think we've had a really good, robust discussion about water safety. And, it is very timely. The weather's warming up here in New Zealand. And yeah, to all of you that have joined us today, thank you. I hope that you enjoy summer, you enjoy the pools, the beaches, the rivers, the lakes, and that you stay safe.
Thanks for having me today, Gina, and thank you everyone for listening. And have a wonderful summer. Stay safe and watch those pepe and tamariki around water, but have fun.
Awesome. Ka kite